Playoffs. Bucks are headed to the NBA playoffs. Brewers on a pace for the Major League Baseball playoffs, and we are on a pace for the next half hour of sports conversation here on the FOX6 Sports Blitz. Tim Van Voorn, Brandon Cruz, Lily Zhou's away this week, so we'll do our best to hang in there, see what we can do, and this is what we have planned for you. Playoffs set for the Bucks. They find out who they face in round one. The winning continues for the Brewers. They try to rough up their former ace. Doc Rivers plays the waiting game and say what? We brush up on our Portuguese as the Packers get their itinerary ready for Brazil. And we go twinning for this week's High School Hot Shots.
We beat really good teams how we are right now. And, I've been on teams that won that didn't have a Giannis and didn't have a Chris Middleton and didn't have a Brook Lopez, or Bobby Portis, or, it's the best team I've been on. So, we're capable. We can win games, and when we get him back, we'll be even better.
Him being Giannis Antetokounmpo, we'll talk about that as we go forward. But first, a general question for you, Brandon. Are the Bucks trying to convince themselves as they go into the playoffs?
I think so. I think it's a situation right now where they have to believe that they're good enough to win in the postseason because they have not shown it consistently down the stretch here in the regular season, especially this month in April. Only 2 wins, 6 losses, and not many of those losses being very competitive. So I think this team now has to believe in who they are to be able to get past the Indiana Pacers. To me, the real question is what you heard there is when Giannis comes back, they're going to be even better. But when is Giannis coming back? How severe is this injury? Because when you look at an injury like that to that lower calf, it could extend for quite a while. And it'll be interesting to see when he's going to be back and able to contribute in a meaningful way.
Let's talk about the final week of the regular season. Giannis goes, it's a big week, 4 games. Bucks have to win to hold that second seed. It's a big week because it could go either way. They look real good against Boston, but Giannis goes down with an injury, misses the rest of the regular season. They look good enough the next night as well. Then they lose 2 on their own.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what this team has not had since Doc Rivers took over is consistency. Now, we get that at the beginning of February and even through the All-Star break and just after because he was still trying to get to know that team. But through March and through April, not a lot of consistency. We still see this team going up and down. Sometimes the defense is spot on, like those 2 wins against the Celtics and Magic here in the last week of the regular season, holding both those teams to fewer than 100 points. But then you see what happens on a day like today, or you see what happens in their game in Oklahoma City where they're just not able to stop a very good team from scoring. And that, to me, is what the problem really is at this point.
Giannis Antetokounmpo strained soleus muscle, did not play the remainder of the regular season. Status kind of up in the air. We'll see as to when he would get back to join the postseason, which starts against the Indiana Pacers coming up next weekend. Bucks are the 3rd seed. They frittered away their entire cushion for the 2nd seed. They're the 3rd seed now. The Knicks passed them, and the Pacers are the opposition. And during the regular season, as you look at the bracket, the Pacers were 4-1 over the Bucks.
And they kind of dominated those games. I mean, it was one of those situations where the Bucks could not stop Tyrese Halliburton from scoring. I mean, he just lit this team up and really kind of controlled all of those games. The only win the Bucks had was when Giannis scored 64, and we know what happened there. The Pacers took his game ball, and everything went a little nuts after that game. But they haven't played each other since January 3rd. So these aren't the same teams. The Bucks don't even have the same coach as they did at that point. So it will be interesting to see how that unfolds and what that means from that 1-4 record against the Pacers. But I do think that it's a big concern because they had a tough time getting stops against Indiana's offense.
You talked about getting stops. The Pacers can really score. They had 157 here at the end of the regular season in a game. So you're looking at the Giannis night where he wanted the game ball and there was a dispute, and Halliburton was kind of in the middle of that. Halliburton, the Oshkosh native, by the way, so he'll have some cheering on his side of things when they come up here to play Milwaukee, which is a best-of-7 series. But the Bucks have had trouble with some athletic, young, offensive teams as the regular season has gone along. I would put the Pacers in that category.
I think so. And what you see with this team is they're relentless. They just constantly put pressure on a team's defense. And in the playoffs, you have to be able to make stops, especially at key moments, and consecutive stops. And that is something that the Bucks defense has really struggled at throughout this entire season, let alone the last 39 games with Doc Rivers as the head coach. And if you have a hobbled Giannis Antetokounmpo, that really hurts the defense as well, because he's one of those guys that they look to make those stops, because he's a great secondary defender to get blocks or to come up with a steal. So to me, that is where the big question mark lies.
Really miss those garish playing courts. By the way, one quick question though: are we too down on the Bucks? Is it possible they can flip the switch like they did against the Celtics and the Magic early in the week?
Oh, of course. I mean, this isn't a team that you rule out. They earned the number 3 seed, and had the Knicks not won in overtime today at home, the Bucks would have clinched the number 2 seed. So this team is legitimately as good and has a chance to do whatever. But as you just said, they have to flip the switch, and we have not seen them do that consistently this season. They haven't been able to put together big runs in terms of wins or win streaks, and I think that's something you need to be able to do, obviously, to advance in the postseason.
While we're thinking of the Bucks, time for the Fox 6 Blitz Insta Poll. You can go directly to the question right now by scanning the QR code on the screen, or you can go to fox6now.com. Who wins? Pretty simple. Bucks or Pacers, and in how many games? So we're making it a little tougher for you there. It was not just a yes, no, not just an either or.
Well, it's the playoffs. You go in depth.
Lots of scenarios. Throwing it in there for you. Love to hear from you. We'll have the answers and your responses before the show finishes.
Well, whenever you're, trying to face a number one, you're trying to do everything you can to pester him and get him off his game. I don't know that we did that. He still pitched 5 innings and kept us to 3 runs. So he made some big pitches at some big times. I don't think we beat him. You know what I mean? We had a chance to put it away, and we didn't. And it's credit to him that he really came up big at big times.
That is Pat Murphy, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, who's had a very good start to his managerial career in Milwaukee so far. But today he's talking about Corbin Burnes, who pitched for the Orioles against the Brewers in Baltimore. No decision for Burnes, but Baltimore wins the game 6-4. Okay, 6-4 today's final, but 4-2 on the road trip since last we talked. 4 wins for the Brewers and some pretty impressive baseball.
Yeah, I mean, they're 10-4. They're on top of their division. They have the best record in the National League right now with their win percentage. And I think you go into Baltimore, take 2 or 3, you're very happy with that. Yes, this team wanted to beat Corbin Burnes. But Corbin Burnes, as Pat Murphy said there, was able to work himself out of trouble when the Brewers had men in scoring position and no outs or 1 out, and he was able to limit the damage. I mean, it was kind of neat to see the second pitch of the game turn into a home run for William Contreras, but besides that, it was a well-pitched, well-played game that just didn't bounce their way. They were unable to capitalize on some key moments, and that's going to happen, especially when you go against a guy like Corbin Burnes.
You're not expecting to score a lot of runs against him. He's obviously one of the stalwarts of the game, but they have scored a lot of runs this season so far. They certainly did the 2 previous games in Baltimore, and Brewers fans are not used to this after the last several seasons where the offense was always kind of an effort.
It's really been amazing, and it's top to bottom. You can look at each game, and it seems like somebody else is coming through. Today, you could say Blake Perkins had a really nice, he had a good series as well. And you talk about the runs. I mean, they've scored 62 runs in their last 7 games. I mean, that's not like the Brewers that we've been talking about in recent years. And as their strength has always been pitching and defense, well, the defense has been there for the most part. The pitching's been strong, and the hitting. So at 10-4, you come home from a 4-2 road trip. You're home for a quick series with San Diego, then you're back on the road. I think they should be very pleased with where they're at, especially since, Wade Miley's only pitched once, especially since Christian Yelich is out right now with a back issue. They're finding ways to do it with different guys than you might expect.
Absolutely, and they've called up 2 guys this week that I'm not sure any Brewers fan had even heard of. You know what I mean? Kevin Hergen, and then Jared Koenig is coming up. So, hello, you are the Milwaukee Brewers. Right. They're going to use that whole roster, but they're going to lean on some people. And you mentioned Blake Perkins, who really didn't have a role in the spring training, maybe even coming out of spring training. Now you can't keep him off the field.
No, he's proven that he needs to be out there right now. I mean, he's got a hot bat. He plays great defense, and he's a guy that seems to be a spark plug for them. We talked about Sal Frelick last year and how he was a real energizer when it came to the plate and defensively. Well, so far this year, it has been Blake Perkins doing that, and he's done it with some pop. He's done it defensively, and I think it's one of those guys that when you put him, near the top of the order or near the bottom of the order, he seems to inject that energy and deliver when they need to score runs, and that is something that Pat Murphy has seemed to do so well in these 14 games. Push the right buttons, put the right guys in, and get the results that he's looking for.
All right, you mentioned Pat Murphy. The Brewers haven't even played 10% of their schedule, so let's acknowledge this is very early for every team in Major League Baseball. But your impression so far about Murphy, and has anything surprised you about his managerial style?
No, I don't think so. I think what he's done and he's brought is a sense of confidence to everybody he puts in there, and it seems like everybody believes in themselves. They believe in the guy next to them, and they believe in the guy calling shots because he believes in them. And I think he's a player's manager, which is clear, and he has fun, even though he's also, a tough-minded guy, and he doesn't seem to, want to waste anything. He wants it all to be business, but he wants them to have fun doing it. And this team looks like they're having fun just 2 weeks into the season.
And a lot of people are having fun watching them. It's been interesting so far this season. A lot of people kind of like, all right, go Brewers, here we go. So let's see how it all sticks out. This is the FOX6 Sports Blitz, and we are just rolling along. What came as a shock to no one, both Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro say goodbye to Marquette. Talk about a program that a lot of people enjoyed watching. They're headed for the NBA draft. Each could have come back for an extra year of eligibility, but declines that opportunity. The Golden Eagles top tandem posting to Instagram thanking the school. Kolek, we'll see where he goes. Ighodaro, we'll see where he goes, but we know what they're headed toward, and that's the NBA draft. Some good news for the program. Cam Jones, though, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't go to the transfer portal, doesn't entertain the NBA draft. He says on social media he's staying put. He looks to lead the offense once again next season. He could be in line, at least, for consideration for Big East Player of the Year going in because he can really score. And you're going to score if you stick around with the FOX6 Sports Blitz.
I want to run through a wall for him.
Maybe no, didn't miss that. He'd thrown it in from everywhere.
Oh man, yeah. I didn't know I had to make a case for that.
That almost offends me.
Don't get me wrong. I wish I did.
Game over. Oh, it's an NBA timeout. It's the 22nd timeout that lasted 2.5 minutes. Okay, I'll stall and wait for you guys. The Masters is on. I played like Scheffler. On the front nine yesterday.
It's over.
Okay. Okay. So now what's the question?
Long wait for Duck, but he got to talk a little golf, which I think he'd much rather do.
He was watching the Knicks game wrap up in overtime, so they got the number 2 seed.
Right, and you can tell he was on pins and needles the whole time.
Right.
The Packers might be on pins and needles. They could be on Hard Knocks this year because they're talking about possibly making that a whole division. Can you imagine?
They don't have any interest in being on Hard Knocks. I don't think they have any interest in going to Brazil, but they will be on an airplane to head to Brazil to start the season against the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is going to be a lot of travel at the beginning of the year for Matt LaFleur. Doesn't always love that. They have 2 preseason games out of the 3 on the road this year, and they wanted to travel and have a joint practice with some other team in the preseason. I don't know if they'll do that now with this Brazil trip.
Yeah, how does this affect them? Because it's a Friday night start to the season, so it's not the Sunday. It's 2 days earlier than that. And like you said, they're traveling to a different continent.
It'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure they're going to do studies and what it's going to be like to go down there. Of course, they went to London, didn't play well in that game, and I didn't think it was very well handled by the football side of the organization either in terms of whether you embrace the opportunity or not. So it will be interesting to see how they do things around this trip with the Portuguese Brazil opportunity.
Yeah, how much of a learning experience is it from London, or is it at all because of the different time of the year and the way the schedule works out? Because that game was sandwiched in between others.
Right, exactly, and that was a weird deal where they didn't want the bye on the way back. If you remember, they made that decision and then lost because of that and got into a rut. I do think it's definitely a different decision, a different situation other than you're traveling. It's a large traveling party. You don't do this regularly. The Packers very much like to stay at similar hotels. They know what they like to do. This is a change. It's a one-off, and so it's going to be unusual for them. I think the Eagles have the worst deal, though. They lose a home game. You're an NFC team that would have a home game. You get that taken away and played in Brazil.
Does this look to be something that we get into December and we look back at what happened on September 6th and having to travel? Is that something we will be doing maybe?
Certainly could be, and depends on how that game matters in the NFC standings for both teams. I think you could say, why did they have to go so far and play a game like that? Obviously, we understand the NFL is trying to grow the game, but from a football standpoint, it's not pure. The Packers, if you lose the game, either team is going to lament it when we get to December.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens September 6th down in Brazil against the Eagles. Well, time to check in on our Insta poll. You can go to the question by scanning this QR code or go to our website, fox6now.com. Who wins, the Bucs or Pacers, and in how many games? Right now, you're saying the Bucs in 6. That sounds familiar. We'll see what you think by the end of the show because we will have more of your results then. Now, what a special moment for Ads goaltender Troy Grosnick. Called up for one game with the Predators. He announces the lineup alongside his son in front of the rest of the team in the locker room. Now, Grosnick was sent back down to Milwaukee the following day, but with his help this season, the Ads are now Central Division champions. Grosnick and the Ads wrap up the regular season a week from today. Who knows if his son's going to be in the locker room when the playoffs start, but he clearly made an impact there. Coming up next, our high school hot shots.
Just amazing. Thanks for hanging with the FOX6 Sports Blitz. These twin sisters helped bring home a state title for one team and a conference title for another. But the desire to be role models to others through their faith and perseverance is even more why they are tonight's high school hot shots.
Hi, I'm Anna Taryn. I'm Amy Taryn. We are. Oh no! We're so mad at this. How can we do this? Do you want to stay in New York State champions together? Sure. Oh, that looks good. We got this, Anna. We got this. All right, twin telepathy. We're gonna get this. Okay, let's go. Hi, I'm Anna Taryn. And I'm Amy Taryn. And we're on the state championship basketball team. Yes! Got it! I'd say it's pretty cool. It's an experience that you dream about when you're a little kid. Oh man, it's definitely a hard one just because I think everything hits you. Like, you finally did it. I think that video shows it all, the emotion that just ran through us. That's one of my favorite memories of when we go to state, we go around that circle and the little kids with the signs, those are the cutest thing ever. And it was incredible going through that circle. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes over this past summer. It was hard to adjust, the new normal. You know, type 1 diabetes is a challenging disease. It doesn't stick to its scripts. You know, you have a community of support and type 1 diabetes is one of my communities. Yeah, well, when we were little kiddos, my mom always put us in pigtails and get our hair out of our face, and it just stuck. Like, I don't know what it is. We call them game day pigtails, and it's been working, so we'll just keep it coming, you know? Well, I remember freshman year, coach couldn't figure us out, so we just went to twin 1 and twin 2.
Yeah, he couldn't figure us out. Yeah, my dad, when we were, babies, couldn't tell us apart for 4 years. So anybody that messes us up, I don't really mind because my dad couldn't tell us apart.
So tennis is a great balance in our life. I remember the first match we played, Amy bonked me in the back of the head,
and we're laughing on the ground
on the floor. It's cool to experience state there and state at basketball.
Definitely two different experiences.
We're actually fostering some dogs, but Amy's not a fan of dogs.
No, I am not. I know who has the better GPA.
Yeah, I do.
I'm the better driver.
Oh yeah, Amy is the better driver.
It's awesome because my strengths line up with her weaknesses and her strengths line up with my weaknesses. Maybe twin telepathy, maybe not,
Yeah.
Amy Taryn.
Anna Taryn, and we are juniors at Milwaukee High School. We are
this week's FOX6 High School Hot Shots.
And you are connected, ladies. That's awesome. Anna and Amy help raise donations for juvenile diabetes by hosting a benefit basketball camp. They've also verbally committed to play together in college at Michigan State. Former high school hotshot Seth Trimble has entered the transfer portal. As a sophomore at North Carolina, he played 35 of the team's 37 games, averaging more than 5 points per game. Menominee Falls grad, former Mr. Basketball, not the only high school hotshot making news. Sam Mayer's NASCAR Xfinity race went right down to the wire Saturday in Texas. Mayer from Franklin makes a late lap pass, wins it by 2/1000ths of a second, making it the second closest finish in series history. Woo! We'll be right back. on the Fox 6 Blitz Insta poll. There's belief in the Bucks, 6 against the Pacers.
And we know they play Sunday at home. After that, we don't know the days or the times, but that's when the playoffs get going. And the Brewers are home for the beginning of the week. They have the Padres in for 3, and then they head off to St. Louis to wrap up the week.
Interesting time of year in the world of sports. NFL draft not far away either. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Lily will be back next week. See you.